Hi everyone, I am Shangnan Chen, and I'm going to present my revised lesson plan 2. So here is like a basic information about my lesson plan 2. I was teaching a sacred life science class, and the lesson topic was about interactions among organisms in the ecosystem. And we have two objectives. The first is that students will define and identify abiotic and biotic factors that affect an ecosystem. And the second one is that they're going to define and identify interactions among organisms as competition, mutualism, and predation in an ecosystem. So here is an overview of the lessons 5Es. The first engagement is that they're going to listen to audio of natural sounds to share what they hear, and they're going to view a picture of the ecosystem to share what they see as I provide here. So the nature sounds is a video clip that I found on YouTube. They're gonna hear like the raindrops and the water flows and the bird saying something like that, and they're just gonna close their eyes and just relax their minds and to enjoy the natural sounds and tell me what they hear after the video is played. And they're also gonna describe the pictures for me, like for instance, oh, what did you see here? What are they doing? What is this? Something like that, to just have a basic idea of what the class will be, which is like about ecosystem. For exploration, they're gonna be introduced to vocabulary terms, then answering questions on Kahoot. So this is the two questions that I will provide for them to answer, which is related to abiotic and abiotic factors. For instance, here I provide a picture of rock, and they're gonna identify this as either abiotic or biotic factors, and they're gonna answer the questions within 20 seconds. For instance, the answer for this one should be like, the rock is an abiotic factor because it does not have life. They have to identify them as abiotic factors at first, and they're gonna choose like the correct explanation for the answers. For instance, it should be like, it does not have life as an abiotic factor. And here, like, this is an abiotic factor because it has life is false, because abiotic factor does not have life. So they have to identify and distinguish the difference between abiotic and biotic factors. And this is a sunflower. They are going to choose like, this is a biotic factor because it has life. For explanation, I'm also going to use Kahoot. They will describe the pictures for me and answer the questions and then share their ideas to the class. So they are going to learn mutualism, competition, and predation. So I provide a picture for each of the relationships. So a bee and a flower will be mutualism. A leopard and a gazelle should be predation, and two eagles should be competition. Again, they're gonna answer the questions within 20 seconds. For elaboration, they will come up with other examples of relationships between organisms that they just saw on the slides. This is a follow-up activity of the explanation. So for instance, they just saw a bee here. So I'm gonna ask them, what other relationships can you think about for a bee having with other organisms? For instance, with not necessarily would be organisms, like for instance, what relationships will be between a bee and water, or what relationships will it be between a bee and another bee, so that they're gonna having new ideas about what we just learned and they're gonna apply it. For evaluation, they're gonna answering two open-ended questions on Kahoot. The first one is that, is oxygen an abiotic or biotic factor, and why? This is gonna fulfill like the first objectives, to evaluate the first objectives. And the second one is that, what is the relationships among organisms in these pictures and why? This is gonna like evaluate their understandings of the second objectives of the class. So for instance, they're gonna say they are supposed to say that like, this is competition, because they're competing for some resources, something like that. And they're gonna have about 1.5 minutes for answering each of the questions. And I believe that my use of Kahoot would be a modification of the class, because this is a significant text redesign. Instead of like what we did in our lesson 2, instead of assigning each group of one picture for the relationships and asking that group to present the appropriate picture to the class, for using Kahoot, all students may have the chance to identify all pictures so that all students can engage in learning. So no one will be like excluded when another group is presenting. And also, I believe that this allows students to practice learning with technology. Regarding to teaching strategies, Kahoot is a game-based response system. So I believe that students may feel more interesting of the activity rather than just like listening to other students presenting and they were doing nothing and sitting there and listening to us talking. And also because Kahoot can give me immediate feedback so that I can test students' understanding of the lesson's content immediately and also keep them focused because they have to answer the questions within 20 seconds so that they have to be focused. Otherwise, I will find out that, okay, someone is not answering the questions, he was not paying attention. And I will also implement group work because I'm going to ask them to share ideas to the class or to the group so that again they're gonna be engaged in learning and like they're not, because in a virtual learning environments it's pretty easy to just not paying attention, so that by sharing ideas and using Kahoot can really grab their attentions. In terms of my personal growth, I do feel more comfortable with guiding students. For instance, I was leading engagement in lesson 2 as the activity I mentioned before. So I'm gonna ask them, okay, what did you hear and what did you see? And I'm gonna sum up their answers and re-explain it to the class. So I have to like pick up students to answer my questions and also encourage them to share their thoughts. And I do have improved confidence in talking with students because I am not a English native speaker. So it was very nervous for me to teach native students about about a subject. But like every time when I was helping them to solve questions, for instance, I was walking around and trying to find out students that seem struggle and try to help them. This conversation really helped me like to improve my oral skills and also improve my confidence in like helping students to figure out the answers. So regarding to my teaching belief, I always believe that students can really feel your passion if you present it appropriately. For instance, the first teaching, because students and us were not familiar with each other, so they seem like not really accepting us as their new teachers. But like for the second and the third one, they seemed like we were much more closer to each other, and we got knew more about them, and they knew that we are really trying to help them. We're really trying to teach them, so that they were more willing to listen to us and sharing their answers, sharing their thought to us. And I was really glad that we can saw this improvement in the class. And that's all. Thank you for listening to my presentation, and I hope you have a wonderful summer.